Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It is Thursday, June 19th, right? So, what's the topic for today? Well, I thought what we would dwell into or go into is not so much spirituality, but kind of an uplifting message that maybe you just need to hear today, or maybe not. Stay tuned. Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric, if you didn't already know it. And yes, this is the weekday, Monday through Friday. Today is Thursday, the 19th of June. So, what am I talking about when I say spirituality or, you know, whatever? What I'm talking about is sometimes we never reach our potential because we never try. And I'm probably the worst like that. There are so many things that I really wanted to do, but I wasn't willing to give the effort or take a chance on myself. And that probably defines many of you as well. That you're not reaching your full potential. And it's not that you can't do it, it's just you don't see it as being that important at this date and time. Okay? One of the hardest things that I've learned over the years how to accept criticism. I've gotten pretty good at that. Because everybody has got a smart ass remark. Quiet, Jason. But no, we accept criticism because we've had it since we were young, right? And as you get older, if you haven't figured out, just let it go, then you're in for a rough road. But the hardest thing to accept, which is just the opposite, is praise. I had some people praise me about I must be really thrilled because I'm now an author and how it's such a great accomplishment. And I told them, I said, no, it's not really that. I didn't get that feeling from writing the book. My greatest accomplishments are when I look into my two kids' eyes and the grandkids' eyes and see how well they turned out. That's my greatest accomplishment, and I'm very proud of that. I had help, and they turned out great with even having me as a father. But no, it's why is it so hard for us to accept praise? And the best way I can explain it is because when you try to give me praise, I've always felt that I'm no better or no worse off than anybody out there. You know, I I'm not special. You know, I'm not unique. And a friend of mine said, but now you can add being an author to your resume because you wrote the book. And the way I dealt with it in my head, because that's where I have to deal with most of this crap, is accept praise with the thought that the only reason that you now have accomplished writing a book is because you felt that it was worth the time and the effort to put into it. And for me, it was a way to get everything out from inside. It's like I just need to get it out of me, and write it down. And a lot of therapists recommend that when they're talking to their patients and stuff is do a journal, write things out, just get it out, and then torch it if you want to, catch it on fire as long as you get it out. And the biggest thing is that way you're not alone with things. And that's the worst, is when you feel like you're alone with what's going on with you. And that's even whether it's good or bad. Feeling alone with things, to me, is a choice. Let me follow that up because now it's not making any sense to you, right? Here's the choice. When I was first able to say anything on Facebook, my son had already put it out that I had gone through the surgery and that it was wait and see, And when I first checked Facebook, not knowing that he had posted that, I was really surprised of how many people had sent prayers. So, had I not put myself out there, and it's hard because if you put yourself out there, what does that do? It causes people to be able to judge you, right? Or say whatever they want. You don't have control of anybody else, just yourself. So when I put myself out there, I fully expected to hear crickets. Honestly. Who would give a rat's ass about me except you, Amos? But instead of hearing crickets, I heard roars. Had I never put myself out there, I would have never got that sense of community, that sense of belonging, that sense of not being alone with things. And I tell people, Facebook is not the place to air your dirty laundry. We don't need a play-by-play of what's going on. But if you simply just say, I'm going through a rough time right now, you might be pleasantly surprised at how many people will say, we got you. That simple. Because that's the thing. We're a social creature, and we don't want to be alone with things. And if you're alone with it, to me, that's why I say it's a choice. If you decide to be by yourself and try to deal with it by yourself, that's a choice. If you decide to bring other people into that fold and let them know what's going on, that's a choice. So you're choosing. And the only time, it wouldn't be the only time, but the main reason that you're not making the choice to let other people know what's going on is because you're fearful that they may have a negative connotation to it, right? And what I've found in my 62 years of life is that good people try to help other people. They do. And most often the times when we're dealing with stuff, we don't want somebody to physically do something for us. We just need to not be alone with it. But that all goes to taking a chance. When it comes to starting a business, you're taking a risk. You are. And what I can tell you is, with many of us that have been successful at it, is you're going to fail more than you're going to succeed. And it's no different that when you failed, you learn something not to do the next time and the next time. It's all part of a learning lesson. And many of those lessons you need to do on your own. If somebody else does it for you, you're not learned it. You have not learned it, and you're going to have it bite you in the behind as you work up the thing. But the other thing you have to understand is you're not doing it all by yourself. I hear that so often. They use the word I instead of we. I did all this, yada, yada, yada. You didn't do squat. You may have been the person with the idea, the person that put in long hours, but you didn't do it alone. If you're honestly looking at things, you know you didn't do it alone. I had a lot of help. I had great mentors. I went back to college in my 30s, late 30s, before I started the business, and I got a bachelor's in IT and one in business, so that I understood. And the best thing was I had this one instructor that was a vice president for Bosch and Lomb. And I loved that class because he brought real world experience in. And he would take the textbook that somebody had written that had never done one iota of business in their life, but they're a great author. And they wrote this book, and he's saying it's bullshit. absolutely worthless. Don't read this textbook. It will not teach you anything that you need to know in the real world. And his teachings and his examples have stuck with me over time. And he said the biggest thing why people don't succeed is because the fear of failure is too great. They're so worried about failing that they don't succeed, instead of worrying about and thinking that you can succeed and finding whatever way it needs to be to get to where you want to be in your end goal. If it's something that is not that important to you, then you're not going to put the effort in, are you? I always heard when growing up, pick your battles. And the same thing goes with business. Pick something that you have near and dear to you. Something that will drive you. Because you will need to draw from that inner strength to run a business, to start one and run it. And what I can tell you is the way you handle people that are around you will dictate whether you succeed or fail. If you treat the people that are working for you very well and like family, that business will thrive. If you're a dictator, it probably won't. I've heard so many bosses say the way to tell a good boss is by how many workers hate him. That's not a good boss. A good boss can take the strength and the weakness of a team and find out how to mesh it so that it's a strong unit. And give the team the credit and not take it themselves. That's a strong leader. That's someone that's going to do well in business. Because they recognize that they couldn't get where they're at without help. And they give the recognition to the people that deserve to be part of it, right? Because I hear so many people say, I did this and I did that, and I created the biggest company on earth. You had help. And I had help. And I had help from my employees, from the community, from a lot of places. My family that put up with my long hours of being just pushing to the mat. And looking back, was it worth it? Yeah, it was. I had something to prove to myself that I could do it. And the nice thing about it is I know that I have the, what's the right word? The equation to become successful at anything that I want. I know how to get to it. I know what to avoid. Because once you do it in one area, you can just replicate it in another area, right? If you're doing things right, it's just a simple process. But if I were to try to spell out that process to you, I know that I was not intentionally, but I would skip over key points that you needed to know that I just didn't think had that much merit, but I had to go through it anyways. Again, any successful person that has a successful business has failed more times than they have succeeded. But they took their failings and learned from it. And when I started buying cattle, years ago, I was in my 20s. A friend of mine that was also a cattle buyer said, some people go to college to get an education and pay for it. You're going to take and get an education because you're going to buy some of the wrong cows that are sick or something's wrong with them, but you're going to learn from it. It's going to be expensive, but you're going to learn how to pick and choose the best animals when they come through. And how to pick and choose the right people to sell those animals to that will take care of them and they will thrive. See, it wasn't simply just buying the animal right. It was being able to find the right fit to the right owner for that cow or calf. Even though I would miss all those steps of that relationship that I had buying cattle years ago, that all went into how I became successful in the small engine parts business and the farm parts business. Timing is everything as well. I was early when it had the internet, before the Chinese decimated the market. I had a good run. I could replicate it, but not doing the same thing. I'd have to go do something that somebody else isn't already doing, if that makes any sense. So if you're sitting there saying that you want to be successful at things, what are you really doing to become successful? What's your drive? Where are you getting your strength from? Because I can tell you right now, if you don't have the drive and the passion, it's not going to happen. Anybody could succeed at what I've done. Anybody. The only difference is applying themselves. And what I look at is it or was it that important to you to do it? Because if it doesn't rate high on your important list, you're not going to give a lot of effort for it, right? And if you're not willing to give the effort to it, why even start to begin with? I know of so many people that could have easily succeeded, but they give up and quit trying because they had a setback. And a setback is a learning. Part of it is if you can work your way through that setback, you're going to be stronger for it. Does that make any sense? See, that's business in a nutshell. Is being resilient, understanding that you're going to have bad times, low times, even in your good times. There's going to be peaks and valleys, and you have to decide whether you're going to be in it for the long haul. And if you are, don't pay much attention to it. But if you're in it just for the quick buck, make sure that you cash out before it goes down. But for me, why even give the effort for such a short run? And then you have a lot of people out there that would love to do something of starting a business, but they're too scared to even take a chance. Fear is a big factor of why people don't succeed at things. They fear they're going to fail. They fear that things aren't going to work out the way they'd hoped. But how do you know that unless you really try? I mean, if it's not that important, don't even waste your time on it. If starting your own business is not really important to you, then you're just wasting your time and everybody else's time. You're just going through the motions. But if it's important enough that you want to become successful at X, Y, or Z, you pick the area. You will succeed if you put in the effort. You will succeed if you take the low spots and capitalize on it and learn from it. This is what I do and do well, and this is what I need to avoid. The biggest thing I see in startup businesses is they don't pay attention to dollars and cents. They may be grossing $1 million, but what's their net? What are you actually profiting? And you don't need to be profiting profiting 50% of your gross. No. Be great if you did. But realistically, if you showed a profit of 50 cents on every dollar, you got to take that 50 cents and figure in employees, utilities, rent, lease, all a bunch of other stuff, so that net keeps getting chewed up until it's down to, should be at least 10 to 15%. That's where your profit margin needs to be honest with you. And when your profit margins are 10 to 15%, you might get up to 20, 25, and you bank that money. Don't spend it and don't base your business on it. Bank it. That's your I'm in need money, that where you get into a deep low and you need something to get you through that. And that's what that reserve is going to do for you. You know, Amos, you said it quite eloquently about how most people do not succeed. You know, it takes a special breed. It takes a special individual. No, it just takes an individual that really wants something really bad and willing to put in the time and the effort in the right places. And learns quickly on your feet. In the comments, let me know what you think about that. Because I know a lot of you guys have got your own businesses, or you work for somebody and you like to get into your own business. For the ones that are working for somebody else and haven't got their own business yet, what would you say is the biggest thing holding you back? Is it the fear of failure? Is it monetary? You don't have the money for the startup? I mean, you can be honest. There's no judging here. We're all out to help each other. That's why I started this channel. It's not to make money, it's to try to get people to help each other succeed. Because I can tell you right now, if you succeed from something that I've told you, I've succeeded. I've helped you. And I'm glad that I helped you. And I'm glad that something I said helped you. And that's why you'll hear in numerous videos, I always say, take what you can use to apply it to your business and leave the rest. I'm okay with that. Make it your own mantra, your own marching to keep you going in the right direction. Because you're going to add your own tweaks to it anyways. That's going to fit you. And what's going to drive you, right? You still get all the credit. But I succeeded if you succeed. If that makes any sense. And you guys are a great group. Guys and gals. Willing to help each other. And troubleshooting stuff. I don't see that too many other channels. You know, it seems to be monetary is what they're going after. Views, subscribers. I mean, would it be great to have? Yeah, why not? If we could get the word out to more, makes me even more successful. But I approached this channel the same way I approached my business. I wasn't looking for a big spike and then have it drop and then be crickets. I wanted to keep building at a steady pace. And I've got the channel where I feel like there's enough videos there that should answer to pretty much anybody's questions that they have about a certain aspect of the business. There's a gazillion videos out there of how to when it comes to repairing, but there's very few that are offering good advice on how to start and maintain a business. So on that note, you guys have a great Thursday. We'll catch you here bright and early Friday morning, tomorrow morning for the end of the week. If you guys have topics you want to hear my take on it, put it in the comments. I'm more than willing to talk about anything that you want to listen to. I'm not always saying I'm right, but you'll get my take. And it might be one of those take what you need and leave the rest. You guys enjoy your Thursday.